Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to week 12 of site planning. This is the last week before we go into uh, we step into the Eid holidays. The Eid holidays will take place between the 29th, sorry, from the 29th all the way up to the 6th of May. Um, so this week I'd like to discuss the outcomes or the results of our evaluation, the evaluation that we did last week. So I'm going to stop the QR code for the time being, and I'll share this with you instead. Okay, now I'm quite pleased with the overall results. Some of you may already seen your results and the feedback that I gave you. But this is the overall grades. So overall average of 76.4, which is pretty good. Some of you even scored much higher than much higher than the average, so way above average, which is good. Others, well, you may need to step up your effort during the group work and presentations. Let's have a look at the questions one at a time. So the first question that popped up in the questions list is the SWOT analysis for site development. And some of you, I can see that some of you are already quite comfortable with carrying out SWOT analysis. Others not so confident. A lot of you did not provide enough background information on your site. To be honest, providing coordinates to your site does not make sense. It doesn't make sense to most people, because only you know where the exact location is. You need to describe your site. Where it is, which city is it in, and so on. Imagine if you're presenting or proposing a site to a potential client, and you're giving them coordinates. They won't look at the coordinates. They'll just wave you away, and that's it. Your window of opportunity is gone. So coordinates do not make sense to most people, perhaps even to all people, because who remembers coordinates? Second question, spatial requirements on the site. Now, I said there are several ways to determine spatial requirements on the site, and site planners, architects, designers normally refer or consult standards that have been set by national and international standards institutions. We have the SNI. We all know, or at least have seen, ISO. The Germans use DEN, or I forgot what the INN is, but Deutsche something. And then Australians and New Zealanders use ASNZS. So Australian standard, New Zealand standard. Other documents that you may consult are government regulatory guidelines. The Ministry of Public Works often publish guidelines, buku panduan. So you may want to look into that to determine spatial requirements and so on. Determining spatial requirements can also be done by observing similar activities. Now, observing similar activities here does not mean that, say, for example, if you're going to develop a tourist attraction, and then you look around, there are some restaurants there, and then there's a bit of open space there, and you just observe that. No, observing similar activities is, for example, if you're developing a theme park, you look at Disneyland, or you look at Warner Brothers Movie World as a reference to determine what attractions you need to put there. If you're developing a water park, you might look, well, if you're in Surabaya, there are a couple of options. Ganjeran is one, and then there's another one in the west of Surabaya. So that's what I meant by observing similar activities. So if you're going to do a food court, you don't look at warungs. If you're going to do a food court, you at least have to compare and then deduct and then deduce the spatial requirements and the standards for a food court. Maybe you can look at mall food courts, different mall food courts. Some outdoor food courts I think are available across the city as well. So you might want to look at those. This is a sample that I took from one of the submissions. Maybe you recognize it as yours if you happen to be here. So to determine spatial requirements of the purpose site, I use the spatial requirements of SNE, specifically criteria for structuring and cultivation space based on Permen PU number so-and-so. So Permen PU number so-and-so is a guidebook, set of guidelines to calculate spatial requirements, and detailed guidelines of allotment for tourism areas according to the Permen land characteristics. Okay, and then there's a technical criteria. There are other guidelines, not just number 41, 2007. There are other guidelines as well to complement that regulation. So you might want to look into that a little later on. Now the next one is context-sensitive planning and design. This was a question from Pak Yusuf actually. ITS will make efforts to develop the Sukolilo campus, mention and explain planning considerations in an effort to provide a decent work and study space for the entire ITS academic community. Let's do a little bit of content analysis here, and pick out some keywords that site planners use use to consider their site design. ITS has only one co-working space. It's quite comfortable, located in the central library, but co-working space, but but the capacity is very, very limited. So increase the co-working space capacity. A lot of empty spaces at ITS could be developed into several co-working spaces across the campus. In addition, the co-working space should provide good internet connection and several electric sockets, and comfortable space for studying. So from that sentence, I can safely say that you need co-working spaces which are large enough to accommodate a large group of students, and you need comfortable. It could be comfortable furniture. Comfortable furniture with integrated power sockets and stable internet connection. Outdoor co-working spaces could be a good development. Yes, I agree. So it's this first paragraph revolves mainly around co-working spaces. And then cafes and mini markets should be developed around the campus so students can access it more easily. There is a bit of an issue with the cafe and mini markets thing. You do if you've been to campus and you had a look around, you do realize that almost each department has a canteen or a cantina. And what that actually does is it actually reduces the visitors to the central canteen, which is located in the heart of the campus. So should cafes be developed independently by each department? Maybe, maybe not. I think ITS did try to regulate it once, but I think they failed to do so, and so ultimately we still prefer to go to different departments to grab meals. As an example, my former campus at QT, there is one canteen at the business school which sells pies and sandwiches and cold drinks. And then there is a cafeteria at the library selling coffee, pastry, and cake. There is another coffee shop. In the outdoor learning or outdoor gathering area, so to say, next to the campus. And then there's another coffee. Then there's another coffee shop near the entrance. There is a central canteen. There is a central canteen on the ground floor, and then there's another canteen. Actually, another canteen, one restaurant, and then there's another. And then there's that burger place that I like to go to. So I think multiple destinations is good. So cafes and mini markets, sure. The rivers and waterways at ITS needs to be better maintained to increase its aesthetic value and cleanliness. Another response here, the planning consideration that I would address would be to provide the provision of public transportation facilities and infrastructure for the internal ITS area, so that students and staff do not use their private motorized transportation. ITS has campus bicycles, but they're in a very appalling state. I mean, to be honest, if I got onto one of those bikes, then I'm pretty sure that the bike will fall apart immediately. So they did try to provide a more eco-friendly means of traveling through the campus. I think they've also developed an electric bus, driverless electric bus, but I think we only see that bus on ITS introduction videos. So I think the only people who have ridden the bus is the is our rector and the vice rectors. Everyone else, I don't know. So yes, I think more effort should be done to provide alternate means of transportation. For me personally, I still prefer to walk from one place to another. So from our department to the central canteen, I still prefer to walk. To the library, I still prefer to walk rather than take ride or drive my car. ITS is one of the largest campuses in Indonesia. To be honest, when I showed the ITS campus to my friend on Google Earth, he said that is a huge campus. So and he's from China, so and the Chinese are used to building mega structures and such, and so coming from a Chinese, that's a pretty big thing. But there are problems in accessing existing facilities, and it's not easily accessible. So yes, connectivity between one building to another is an issue at the moment. And then the improvement of pedestrian paths. Meanwhile, accessibility of students in reaching their study needs should not be limited with broad accessibility. Again, when I was studying, we used to walk between. We used to go through the buildings because we used to walk through the buildings from one place to another because it provides adequate shading and really nice draft. But I do agree that more efforts should be done to better integrate one building to another. This particular response is interesting. There's a picture of the pathway behind our department, and they said that it's a great example of how the small roads connecting one department to another are not appealing. There are no signs, no signage, no lights, and the vegetation is very unkempt. It's very unclean. Developing ITS pathways and promoting students to walk more instead would create a more full and lively environment. And that's true. The thing is that with each department having its own campus, its own canteen and cafeteria, we tend to come to campus. Head to the department, and then not leave the department until our day is finished. So I think one of the reasons why the rectorate wanted to centralize the cafeteria is so that there is movement and creating a more lively atmosphere on campus. Because so far, I think other than movement from the entrances and from the student dormitories, there's not a lot of movement between one building to another, unless I think at the beginning of your studies you did take the basic subjects UPMB, and that actually forces you to travel to other departments. But other than that, I don't think there's a lot of movement. It would also support the Sustainable Development Goals, number 3, good health and well-being, climate action, and life on land. I strongly agree with that. So is a little bit of history with that. Let me share with you a bit of history on this. The pathway behind urban and regional planning. which happens to be this path here. So it actually splits from one place that leads to industrial engineering, and then another one that's supposed to lead to Taman Alumni, Jalan Taman Alumni, right here. So formerly, this path is known as the main spine. The idea is to connect. The ITS rotunda or the roundabout with other functions on campus. The main spine was developed in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and then fast forward 20 years, it's been unkempt. It's been left. It's been overgrown by vegetation. Usually, if I want to go to the language center, I would take the path to industrial engineering and go past industrial engineering to the language center. But yesterday, when I tried to do that, this particular area here was overgrown with shrubs, so it was impassable. Right now, because ITS have implemented the gate system in their entrances, I usually take the main spine. Walk through here and wait for Gojek near the letter R. Because rather than have them drive or drive inside the campus, and they usually most of them are confused because they're used to coming in through Taman Alumni, but now Taman Alumni is a staff only entrance, so they have to go all the way around. So instead of that, in other words, walking through the main spine is actually quite pleasurable. The only problem is that there's a lot of moss on the surface. I slipped a couple of times the other day, almost fell because of the moss around this area here. Yes. I think the problem with campus development at ITS is that ideas ideas are scrapped too often and too easily. Sorry. Right. So let me show you a unique campus layout. This was the city where I studied for my master's degree, in Weimar, Germany. So the campus itself, the university, Bauhaus Universität, has a main campus building here. So this is where the architecture and the media sciences are located. And the university library is about here. And my dormitory is the Studentenwohnhaus Jakobsplan 1. And then we have a music school, Franz Liszt here, and right up here is the building where my classes where I used to go to classes. This is not a very big city. It's only about 12 square kilometers, so 3 by 4 kilometers. About 60,000 people, maybe 60,000 inhabitants, mostly students. and everything is within walking distance. So normally I would walk from my dorm to to the uphill to my classes. That's a very steep uphill. Or maybe if I don't have any classes, then I would walk through the marketplace and to visit the library. There is the International Student Services there, and then the immigration, was it at Kuliah? I think it's at Kuliah, somewhere here, the immigration. So the campus facilities are spread out throughout the city. It's not a single. Although there is a main campus building, but it's only classes and staff rooms and staff offices. Sorry. The International Student Services and the the student accommodation services are here, and the library is there. So the city is basically the university is basically sprawling throughout the city, and what's so good about it is that everything is within 10 to 15 minutes walk. And as a matter of fact, if you do try to take the bus, it's actually quicker to walk than to take the bus. We did that. My friends and I tried that once. We were going to our friend's house, which is somewhere off the map, going through Belvedere Alley, all the way to the south of the city. And my friends decided to take the bus because it was Ramadan. Everyone was fasting. Normally we would walk, and I decided to run. Guess who made it first? I did. And that's a big 20-30 minute gap, 20-30 minute difference between me running and my friends taking the bus. Why is that? Because the bus stops at every bus stop. So it's a very walkable city, and if you happen to enjoy walking as much as I do, then this is the city for you. And then the last question. This is the building arrangement concept. This is a question from Pak Ardi, actually. So everyone at the site planning team, both regular and international classes, got together and put together these the questions. So you're given a segment in one of the corridors of a city, and it has a certain existing condition. I should have pasted the existing condition, but anyways, figure 1 demonstrates building characteristics that describe that illustrate the shape, facade, dimensions, building height, distance between buildings, and building color. And currently the existing arrangement looks a little unorganized, and your task is to propose a building arrangement concept for segment X. Then explain the considerations that you used in making the arrangement proposal. I think some of you misunderstood this particular question, but most of you got it, so that's good. I quite enjoyed the fact that some of you simply rearranged the building configurations, while others opted for a more extreme or more drastic measure, which is to replace the entire street. Is that a bad thing to do? No. So As long as you can explain the concept to us, then it's fine. We did ask for a building arrangement concept, so you can either rearrange the buildings literally, like this one up here and one down here, or you could simply demolish the entire street and build something new. A couple of others that I quite enjoy is some of these were hand drawn. I truly appreciate your efforts in drawing these drawing the buildings by hand. I know in this particular concept, one building remains and the others have been rearranged in such a way that it emulates the steps or the height of the building, thus accentuating the skyline. And here, I would say this is an effort to provide a bit more open space by consolidating some of the building functions from the original multiple buildings, consolidate them into one building so that you end up with a bit more open space. So that's good. And then the last one, the last couple of ones, yeah. This I enjoyed very much. I got a good chuckle out of this. Just a simple, I'm going to move this one over here, and that's it. And yes, that's okay, because ultimately there is an accent. I think there is an accent here. The building height tends to sort of rise this way, so it only makes sense that you shift the largest or the tallest building to the other end, and then whereas this one seems to be inspired by the 1980s design of RoboCop, but all in all, it's good because everything is uniform, rather than having many different buildings facades. So yeah, just make them all the same. Uniform. It's easier that way. Yeah. All good. I think that is all that I could. I think that's all that I could discuss with you this week. Over the next few weeks. So we will pick up after the Eid holidays. We will pick up at week 13. So so the holidays does not count towards the 16 weeks, the 16 weeks of the class of the lectures. So we will continue at week 13, and over the last few weeks, so 13, 14, 15, and 16. You are given the opportunity to further develop your site, and you can consult with me and or Pak Yusuf throughout the last few weeks. So it's primarily assistancy for your site development. Now, before I end this session, just let me share this with you again. Now, before I end the session, does anybody have any questions or comments that they would like to give with regards to the exam? No, again, there will be no remedials for the exams. So for those of you who feel that you have scored below average, you need to step it up. You need to step it up through the concept development and later through the presentation. Yeah, I guess that is all. That is all I can share with you this week. As this is our last meeting before the Eid holidays, I would like to offer my sincere apologies for any for any wrongdoing or any harsh words throughout our interaction in this class. I wish you all a happy and safe Eid holidays. I need to remind you that ITS is moving towards an offline mode of lectures and classes. So after the holidays, be ready to make a return to campus, and yeah, and we will conduct the rest of our sessions offline. Right. That is all. Make sure you mark your attendance, and thank you very much for joining me this morning. And I look forward to seeing you all again, safe and sound, after the Eid holidays. Have a great day. Have an enjoyable holidays. Have a safe holidays. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, sir.